So ultimately, as it states in verse 5, you're not supposed to bow down before. It's like, you must not make it. Why? Because God is jealous of him. God is jealous of him. God gave his life for these people. Jesus died on the cross for us. How can we then exchange that beauty to worship our own bodies? Or here's more makeup to make us look nicer, or let's cut the nose here, or cut the eye there, or something like that. And so many other things. Overly sexual stuff, or whatever, all over the time. We're just so... and it's sad. God's a jealous God. He's not going to let you get away with this. If you're a Christian, he's going to visit the iniquity. Right, and the children to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate him, and showing steadfast love to thousands of generations with those who love his commandments. Now, this point here is as well kind of a very important point, and that is the 3 and 4 generations. Okay, so people in those days, and lots of cultures still live like the grandmother with the grandchildren, etc. The parents and grandchildren, sometimes 3-4 generations live together. Russia as well. I mean, again, I'm using Russia because I lived there so long, but not only in Russia, in Thailand, and here and other places as well. Families still live like, especially social families, they still live like that with the patriarch or the matriarch in a certain sense, right? Depending on who's alive. And so if the patriarch, the great-grandfather worships these other idols, then what will happen? All those 4 generations in that house is going to live through this. He himself and everyone else, they're going to worship this. So in that sense, they are suffering because of the head of the house worshipping these idols, which they created, which you're not supposed to create. And then the thousands of generations, and that is outside of. This is not just in a social culture now, or in this cell home group kind of idea, where grandfather, great-grandfather, down to the great-grandchild kind of, right? That is why they're suffering. But it's outside of this. This is a lot bigger, that it encompasses everything. So, okay, just to explain that why it said 3 and 4. This is not in our individualistics, like me, and then 20 years later my children born, 20 years later the other children, and then I die, and then the children is... No, it's all of us living together in one house, worshipping now because of the leader of the house, false gods. That is a problem. That is why the 3rd and 4th generation. So again, you can see the grace of God, and the grace of God in the thousands of generations ultimately. So the grace of God always overpowers the... Well, you can't say overpowers, you can't say Trump, because it's all God. But God made the choice to show grace and to relent judgment. But there is judgment and there is grace. And judgment will come because God is a jealous God. So don't think God just grace, right? That you can just do whatever and worship these other idols. No, you can't. You need to be like that train. You need to fear it, because that train is going to destroy you. God is a jealous God. He doesn't want you to worship, to make images, carved images, or some things in heaven above, earth below, or sea under the water. God doesn't want us to make it, because he's jealous, because he knows that all those things take our attention away from him. And then we don't see beauty anymore, right? What do we see? Is we just see a flat nothing. But when we don't make it, when our eyes are closed and we don't have this image, then God is creating and is showing in our heads the true image, the true beauty of who he is. And then you can look around you and see, with the moon coming up there and stuff like that, you can see all these things. So yes, may we as Christians start, in a sense, a strong example of the Muslims here, but stop making all these images of God and start worshipping just God without the need, not only the need, but without making images of God at all, as if this is God, and worshiping it. Because we are exchanging the truth for the lie, and ultimately we are going to suffer because of it. If you live in the 3-4 generation house, everyone in that house is suffering under the headship of a family. And if you're not in that kind of a culture, yes, yeah. Maybe it's not, in a sense, it's so valid because you're not in that setup. But if your parents are not going to take you to church, you're going to suffer for that. If their grandparents are not going to take a chance, you're going to suffer for it. So, but then, yeah, the grace, thousands of generations for those who do. For those who don't make other gods and worship them, or who worships the one true God, because they alone see the truth. They alone see true beauty. Praise God for that. Okay, so now I think the moon is coming up there, and quite a lot of thunder there, lightning in the clouds. There's a train. I don't know where this train is going to, but my train leaves at 7 o'clock and about 2 hours from now. So now the moon is behind the clouds over there.